chairperson of the House said that we started, or the legal advice was sought, the legal opinion was sought in March. And you said that according to the old policy, I'll call it the old policy because you mentioned a new one in September. So in the beginning of your presentation, you said at the old policy, you were on time in terms of the recruitment process, in terms of the old policy, correct?
So maybe for the benefit of the members of the portfolio committee, is to share that information, because the policy is not really a recruitment policy. It is more really about how to constitute the appointment committee to deal with the recruitment process.
Okay, Chair. So
yes,
let's rather do this then. Whatever you were using at the time was saying that the time frame is 6 months before, that it should start 6 months before the end of the term of the current Vice Chancellor. Is that correct?
It is correct.
6 months before, did you start the recruitment process?
So the process started with the HR process.
Did it start 6 months before?
It must start. It started much earlier. It started. Yeah, yes, definitely.
So you sought a legal opinion during the time frame that the policy says you should start a recruitment process.
Okay, so what happened in terms of that earlier process that I'm talking about, the 6 months you're referring to? The process started with engagement with the HRC and also EXCO, and so it took a bit of time to even come to the. Yes.
I understand the linked elements of what makes up the process, but for the sake of understanding, we're saying there's a time to start, no matter what it is that you're starting with, but we call that all together, we call it the recruitment process, right? So you start, it has to start in terms of what you've just confirmed 6 months before. The end of the term was September, you had to start 6, so that's March. So you say you did start.
Yes.
Yes? Now I'm asking, why did you start the recruitment process and then have a legal opinion?
Okay.
Start at the same time, questioning the commencement of the very same recruitment process?
The real issue that we were faced with here was that we, like I indicated, we had DVCs who had just assumed certain responsibilities. And we had this concern as a council that there will be a vacuum. We needed just to manage that process, and we needed a bit of time. And we could at least maybe retain the current Vice Chancellor to fill that gap so that we do not disrupt the other processes that we're underway.
Why do you find it hard, Chair, to say that we delayed in the recruitment process to replace the Vice Chancellor? And as a result, because we were not going to meet the deadline, why is it so hard to say that?
I'm trying to make that point. Maybe it's not coming across clearly.
It didn't come.
Yes.
It didn't come across as you saying when you realized in March, this is now the time to undergo the process of replacing the VC, that you decided not to do so. That's all you have to say. Because we're trying to, well, at least myself, I'm trying to get to understand why are we justifying keeping the Vice Chair, the Vice Chancellor, when you can just say, no, we decided to keep him. like you're saying now, you decided to keep her. Now you were looking for means to ensure that keeping the Vice Chancellor is within the ambit of the law. And so therefore you sought a legal opinion, which you got. Then when the contract now had to end, you then did a council sitting, which changed the policy. And then allowed within the ambit of the law, gave you some options to retain the Vice Chancellor. Now you have, based on the opinion that you've read to us, you now have legal basis to maintain or retain the Vice Chancellor. But that has been your intention from March.
It is not the case, Honorable Chair. It wasn't that Council had an intention to retain the Vice Chancellor. But we may have delayed maybe the process. We were overtaken by processes up to the point where we were not able to fill the position on time. But then we were faced with a situation where if we don't have the Vice Chancellor within the limited period of time, we will have to get at least maybe a Deputy Vice Chancellor to act, but then will disrupt the program that our DVCs were responsible for. And as a result, when we got the legal opinion that we could retain the VC for a fixed term contract, then we then opted for that option.
You could, sorry, Chair, I'm closing now. You could, but you didn't have to. It's optional, but you opted for what you preferred right from the get-go.
The preference was that if we can retain the current Vice Chancellor with all the other programs.
But would you agree that that's your preference?
Yes, that was the preference. The preference was as a result of at least if we can retain the Vice Chancellor while we maintain the other DVCs doing their other responsibilities.
Yes, but
we will then be able to manage the institution and there will be no disruption.
Just for the record, that your preference was to maintain the VC. And so your question was, how do we retain the VC, which is your preference, within the ambit of the law?
The legal opinion gave us an option that will enable
us. The exercise was for you to retain what your preference was. That's what you're saying? The exercise of getting a legal opinion was so that you are able to retain your preference.
Yes, I would say so. Yes.
And that's the point we're making. Now, you have now maintained or retained your preference, which you now call the old policy didn't allow that, but now with the new one you do. I want to understand the new updated policy that was now adopted in the September Council. Did it change the period for recruitment?
Yes, it changed.
The period.
The period.
What is the period now?
It actually the new policy then realized that the 6 months period is too short. You need to have a 1 year at least before the term of office expires. So we came to the conclusion that the old policy, one of the areas of improvement was that 6 months was too short to deal with the recruitment because it takes a bit longer. So one of the amendment or the changes was that it must then be at least 1 year, because this is the second time we have an opportunity to appoint a new Vice Chancellor.
The second time?
Yeah, what I'm saying, the first time was the first Vice Chancellor.
There was no 6 month period before that because it's a new university.
100%.
Right, and so now it's now technically the second time, but the first time for you to test.
Correct.
But you didn't complete the 6 months.
So they did not even attempt.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't complete the 6 months. To question a process, you decide the period as per the policy is too short right at the beginning of starting that process. You decide that in March, right at the beginning. How do you tell the future? You say this thing is too short, but you're only starting it. For the first time, the university as an institution is going to test what the policy says. You say to us now the only reason why you did the council sitting in September and you made it longer from 6 months to 1 year, you can only do that if you've tested that 6 months is too short. But you've decided it's too short right at the beginning of the 6 months. You've decided that in March. So much so that you've called for a legal opinion on the matter.
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
Chair, I can accept the chair that, and I can concede that we may have started the process of reviewing the policy much later. We should have maybe, as council, look at it within the period of the tenure and reviewing it and looking at it. But it didn't happen that way.
But if I take my phone and I buy it for the first time, I must first use it for 3 months and say, this thing is not working, I need another one. You didn't do that in this process. You buy the phone, right from the beginning, you are saying this phone is not working, I need to buy another one. That's what you did with the policy. So now we need to ask you, if you stand at the beginning and already determine 6 months is too short, what is it that motivated you as a plausible reason to say 6 months is too short before you even started the 6 months? I'll say it is because of your preference. Because you have not even started the process and you decide it must be changed. And then you go a step further and you employ a legal opinion for something that you have not yet tested and tried for you to conclude that it's too short.
The legal opinion was not so far insofar as testing.
Yes, there was added things.
And reviewing the policy even in terms of.
But that's not my question, Chair. My question is, and please don't divert from that. My question is, do you concede that you started a process of reviewing without having tested the thing that you are questioning? Would you concede to that?
Well, what I would say is that at the time when we wanted to implement the policy, we realized that there were certain areas that we could improve simply because the policy was there about 10 years ago when the university started.
But and I'm only interjecting because the chairperson wants to continue with the rest of the thing. So I just want us to, for the record, state this for clarity for us, right? The only reason, the material change, I asked you, what is the material change? New policy versus old policy. You said the time frame changed from 6 to 1 year. That's the material difference. Now I'm asking you, based on that material difference, how do you decide on 6 months is too short when you have not even started 6 months? How do you get to that? So would you concede that you started a reviewing process without having concluded whether the current process works or not? Would you concede?
The legal opinion was given to us, was concluded and submitted to us by legal counsel on the 7th of May.
You started it on March.
No, I'm talking about the legal opinion.
That you received. We're talking about the commencement of the process. You're now referring to the result of the commencement was in May, but it was started in March. Now I'm asking you, the starting time was the same time when the old policy required you to start the recruitment process 6 months before, and you started the legal opinion process.
Okay.
And that means you're questioning the process you're supposed to continue. But you didn't do that. You determined 6 months is too short at the beginning of 6 months. So would you concede that you started a process of review at the beginning of something that has not been tried and tested? You made it even worse by telling me that it wasn't even done before because it's a new university. So no one has experience on it.
So,
And you questioned it right at the beginning before even testing it. Would you concede to that?
what I would like to say is that in May, when we got a legal opinion, it had an input that dealt even with the duration. In other words, we got in the legal opinion that the normal practice in higher education is that the recruitment process starts much earlier than 6 months. In
Okay,
other
but-
words, 1 year. 1 year. That's the
Yes.
practice.
All you're saying with
can I
that-
just finish?
The reason why not, Chair, the reason why not is because all you're saying with that is it confirmed what you started in March. You're saying that the legal opinion confirmed what you are trying to do. It confirmed that there needs to be a longer process, but it was done in May instead of in September. I follow that. Now I want you to follow me.
No, but I want to also, sorry, Honorable Chair, I want also to conclude that this led to an input. It's an input that led to the review, the consideration that our policy in its current form needs to be updated.
What made you to want to review the policy, the recruitment policy, especially what you call the material difference, the time factor? Why did you want to change from 6 to 12? What made you as the council? That's the question. Answer it.
That's 100% correct. Because unless if you stood at May and you say because of this document, we are going to question the time frame. But you didn't do that. You did that in March already. So the question is, would you concede that you started a process of review without any formal conclusion that it's needed?
All right. Maybe just on that point, Honorable Chair, I just want to check. When did we start the register? The process of the review.
Reviewing the policy.
It started after March, Chair.
All right. So we
See, that's it's going to be, it's very unfortunate that we are doing this to each other. As a matter of fact, it's not we doing it, it's you doing it to us. Now the question is after March, the answer is after March. After March can be May, after March can be April, and you referenced May. Now all I want, Chairperson, is do you concede that at the time of undergoing this process, you have not tested whether 6 months will work or not work when you undergone this formal process? Can you concede that?
Yes, I will agree with you.
Right.
Yes, I will agree with you.
So now the next question would be, if you did not have any material evidence that 6 months is too short, what motivated you to question the period, which would result in the current Vice Chancellor, the period being extended? Although in the legal ambit, that would now be the material question. And I put it to you that the answer to that question would be, as you conceded much earlier, that the current Vice Chancellor, it's a matter of preference. And it is this preference that motivated the action of doing what you've done, although within the ambit of the law. And the legal opinion was to solidify this action legally. And it has done so. You have successfully ensured that all this action is within the ambit of the law. But where you have erred is that what the legal process requires for review, that has not been satisfied. You have created a need by assuming, by your unilaterally, that 6 months is too short. Now you undergone a process to confirm that unilateral position. And now it is confirmed. But at the beginning, there was no material need for it because you have not tested it. Would you agree?
Let me maybe respond this way, Chair, that the 6 months and that change that we were talking about is 6 months before the term of office expires. What Council wanted to achieve after realizing that 6 months may be shorter in a process of recruiting a Vice Chancellor. Okay. Even though we had not tested it. But
I'm just glad you confirmed that you have not tested.
No, what I'm saying is that just in terms of the policy, that let's be realistic about it. Put it the correct period of commencement before the term of office expires. When we look at the 6 months, we realize that it may be too short, and that's that the council then dealt with it, and then wanted to then amend the policy so that it can then at least give us 12 months before the term of office expires.
But Chairperson, you are not allowed to make such a decision without material basis. You have conceded that you started this process at the beginning, unilaterally. You started before having concluded, before having tested whether 6 months works or not. You just decided it's not going to work. And then you undergone the process. But that's not what you're allowed to do. You're not allowed to do that. You had to test 6 months, then come and say, based on the following and our experience, and given that we are a new university and we have never gone through the 6 month of recruiting period, now that we've gone through it for the first time, it is clear to us that we must review this policy. You didn't do that. Do you see where the material breach occurs, Chairperson? Do you see where...
I hear what you're saying, but
do you see where you have done that? It's a difference to hear what I'm saying, but do you see what we are pointing to that you have done?
All what I can say, Chair, is that at the time when we came to the conclusion we needed to review the policy.
What led you to come to that conclusion to review? What led you? What is the material basis that led you to come to the conclusion that you need a review?
Because the practice that we found and also the input that we also got from the legal opinion.
No, the legal opinion
came in May.
It came after you started. But the fact that you started the process without having material basis for the need to do so, that is what we're pointing out to you.
We are going to ask Register to send us all the minutes of the HR committees that were set before this thing of the 14th of March, all of them. And I can guarantee you, if what you are saying here now, trying to make us children, is not part of what is there, we're going to have a problem here. This is Parliament. We are going to use powers, privileges, and immunities, section 17, subsection 2, of charging people who come and lie in Parliament. We're going to use it. Because you think we're children now. Because you are lying to us, you know it. If you go later on when you are home on YouTube and listen to yourself alone, of how many times you've contradicted yourself, you're going to be ashamed of yourself. Because you get here, no, we started on time. No, we started late. No, we started early. No, this process started in May. We reviewed before this policy. No, we reviewed after. You are just lying to us the whole time. And I'm telling you, I'm not joking. We're going to, that section 17 subsection, we're going to use it just on the video evidence of what you've said here to the same questions. Because you think we're playing here. These are state resources. When you go and appear in a council meeting, the state pays you. The money that that university pays you comes from the money that we are giving them. Many of it comes from, what do you call that thing? The grants that we are giving you there. You are getting paid a board fees, what do you call it? Council fees. And you think we're joking here. You are just lying to us. And you think we're joking, but just wasted almost an hour. I allowed it intentionally. On that thing alone, Kuru, you must get somebody to analyze what you've just said for you. This legal opinion, how much did you pay for it? How much did the council pay for this legal register? This is probably something you should know. How much did we pay for this legal opinion?
The sanction from my office, so I wouldn't know.
You are the secretary of council.
I know, Chair.
It was not sanctioned by council.
No, I say it was not implemented from my office.
Where was it implemented from?
I think because of conflict of interest, remember my position was also in the pack.
Implemented from?
From my office, I delegated that to the DD committee services because I had to move back.
Committee services?
Yeah, to the DD committee services.
Deputy Director?
To me, yes.